Hello everyone, thank you for joining us on this edition of the 6 p.m. primetime newscast on Equinoxe television, live from our headquarters in Cameroon's economic capital. Dwelling our top stories in this edition of the news: human rights defenders of the Stand Up for Cameroon civil society platform human rights working group say at least 6,000 persons have been killed, or rather 600 persons have been killed in the conflicts in the northwest and southwest regions of the country since January 2021, and they are decrying a worsening human rights situation in the Republic of Cameroon. And out of the country, the military strongman in Guinea-Bissau says he has identified a group of persons who are trying to overthrow the government. Steve Loss. Widespread condemnation and tears continue raining on the social media from across the globe after the killing of a people in the southwest regional chief town Boya. The people died of bullet wounds, a bullet shot by an element of the National Armed Forces of the Republic of Cameroon, who was killed by an angry mob. Details in this report compiled by Charles Ekome.
Untimely death of 5-year-old Carol Louise Ndiale, who was shot dead in the early hours of October 14, 2021 in Boya, Fako division of the Southwest region, has provoked reactions from social media in every periphery of a grief-stricken nation. The Diocese of Boya, in a communique, narrates the story by saying the innocent child was shot dead by a gendarme officer opposite the Divine Mercy Co-Cathedral in Moliko as her mother was accompanying her to school. The angry crowd caught the gendarme officer who carried out the act and lynched him to death. The Bishop of the Boya Diocese, Michael Bibi, says he feels the pains of the family of the late Caro and those who have lost their loved ones in similar circumstances. Civil society leaders such as Barrister Kere Muna and Professor Maurice Kamto reacted to the incident and vehemently condemned this sacrilegious action, terming it a black day in Cameroon's history. Celebrities in the country also reacted in their numbers, depicting solidarity. Sensational artist Daphne says it's so sad that people who are meant to bring law and order are the ones killing innocent souls. Or better still, Mr. Liu, who says the bloodshed is too much. All this has to stop. The international community was also very quick to react with mutual feelings, such as former Assistant Secretary of State for African Affairs, Thibaut Nagi, who tweets that it's a shame that an innocent little girl lost her life because of a 500 francs CFA road bribe. In the same light, the British High Commissioner to Cameroon, Dr. Christian Denis Maclou, in his tweet described the attacking of children as unacceptable and urges the Cameroonian government to open an investigation. The Cameroon Ministry of Defense also reacted with an official communique and reiterates its stance based on investigation, stating that an inexplicable verbal feud broke out between two gendarmes and the driver of the vehicle, who firmly opposed the forces of law and order to a point of initiating an escape maneuver. It is to this effect that one of the gendarme officers will in defiance fire warning shots in order to immobilize the vehicle. In the process, little Carol Louise Ndiale, who was on board the said vehicle, was fatally shot in the head. The minister delegate at the presidency in charge of defense, Atonkfa Gemo Cyril Serge, says he regrets this unfortunate incident and extends his condolences to the bereaved families. Thousands of Cameroonians across the country also reacted by sharing posters such as this one, which reads, "I was going to school. I am innocent. Stop killing us." Or better still, this other poster which reads, hashtag "No guns in Boya," hashtag "Stop killing us," hashtag "End Anglophone Crisis." Carol Louise Ndiale was buried in the evening of October 14, 2021, another Black October, which remains engraved in the memories of Cameroonians.
Stand Up for Cameroon Human Rights Working Group says at least 600 persons have been killed in the armed conflict in the northwest and southwest regions of the Republic of Cameroon since January 2021. In a detailed report, the rights group says the soldiers and civilians are suffering the most, and the report also points out a worsening rights situation in Cameroon. For me, Armstrong Sander has more.
Stand Up for Cameroon Human Rights Working Group says a total of 222 people were killed between June and September 2021 in the conflict-stricken northwest and southwest Anglophone regions of Cameroon. Detailing the killings further, the right group says 89 were soldiers, 40 armed separatists, and about 97 civilians.
When we look at the reports for this month, we had about 47 incidents which took the lives of 90 persons. 79 of these persons are from the Anglophone region. Amongst the 79, we have 40 of them who are the military, 18 from the separatist group, then we have the civilians, which is about 14. We see that those who are suffering in this case are the civilians and the military.
The escalation and killings, according to the group, is a continuation from January 2021.
When you look at the evolution of the crisis, you see that from January up to today, we've recorded already 631 people who've died as a result of this incident. And as the days goes by, we come to discover that so many people are still dying.
The working group says the rights of victims of the Ngabu incident and those accused for the Kumba October 2020 massacre are being violated.
Ngabu, the case is still in court. Government is not really helping the situation because we have people who are very far from the central region, people who don't know Bonjour, and they are forced to come and attend a court session in the Yaoundé. I mean, they are the victims here. Transport is not being given to them. Nothing is taken into consideration. The roads are bad. Not forgetting the case of Kumba, where we lost 7 children. 12 people were arrested with respect to that. 4 people were given a death penalty. 7 others were released and they paid a bail fee of 50,000. So our question is to ensure that what was really given as verdicts was really directed to the right criminals.
Beyond the Anglophone regions, Stand Up for Cameroon has also documented gross rights violations on opposing voices across the country. The report on the human rights situation of Cameroon was presented to media men and women in the course of a press conference organized by Stand Up for Cameroon in Douala.
Circulation has returned to near normalcy on the Buda-Babaju-Bamenda stretch of road linking the west and northwest regions of the Republic of Cameroon. The drivers went on strike protesting against police brutality and harassment on that stretch of road, added to insecurity and the very bad state of that stretch of road. After a crisis meeting with the senior divisional officer of the Bambutus division, circulation has resumed on that part of the national road networks. Details in this report by Smanjika and Gabriel.
A mother in her late 80s trapped in the park in Buda, west region of Cameroon. She is amongst the many passengers who could not go to their destination as a result of a strike action orchestrated by drivers plying the Buda-Babaju-Bamenda stretch of road. The drivers say they spend a lot of money paying their way out from security forces. Our problem is when they take money from us on the way, they should let us do our work. We can't give them money on the road, and just as we are about offloading our passengers, the officers start following us to demand that we pay for their drinks, which is either 3,000 or 5,000 francs CFA.
We want to fulfill our own family then.
According to these drivers, the senior divisional officer of the Bambutus, Etapa Francois, had once ordered that the security forces should do their work just by checking their identification documents, but that has not been respected. Since these cars weren't moving to either Mbuda, Babaju or Bamenda, commercial bike riders took upon themselves to do the transportation. A situation many say it's dangerous owing to the distance these bike riders will have to cover. The drivers are calling on the senior divisional officer, Etapa Francois, to come to their rescue.
within the framework of the International Day consecrated to persons living with visual disabilities. We take a look at the challenges faced by this group of vulnerable persons in our society, and of course the importance of observing some of the signs that will help them to live much more better than what we are experiencing today in our society, where many of them are stigmatized. Malaglory reports.
The movement of the blind people from dependency to active participation in the society is the reason why 15 October is commemorated as the International Day for the White Cane. It is in this regard that an association in charge for the training and the insertion of blind people in the society met in Douala to sensitize the population in the respect of different signs displayed by the white cane.
Of today we are talking about the white cane, the celebration of the white cane. That means the cane using by the people who are not seeing. So as we are here today, we are commemorating it by sensibilizing the population, the community. So we want the community to know all those habits using by the people who are not seeing.
These sightless people encounter several challenges in their daily life, one of which is the ignorance and the non-respect of the white cane signs by road users.
I will make my sign like this. This sign means that stop, I want to cross the road. I will hold my white cane with my right hand, and my left hand will be up like this. And the difficulty that I have when I make this sign, I discovered that there is no bike or taxi will drop down across the road.
This association do not only train the visually impaired, but also provide them with materials. This is because some of these materials are not affordable, says the president of the association. One of the difficulties is to get this white cane because it is very important but very expensive. They therefore call on the population to give to the blind a place in the society and a listening ear through their white cane. They urge the government to provide the blind with materials which will permit them to actively integrate in the society.
In news out of the Republic of Cameroon, Jacob Zuma, former South African president, speaks to his supporters in a video link for the first time since his release in September. Unnamed politicians in Tunisia have been accused by the president of that country of using refuge overseas to plot against the state. And in Guinea-Bissau, the military strongman says he has identified a group of military personnel who are planning to overthrow the government. A roundup of international news with Innocent Azi.
The military head in Guinea-Bissau says he has identified a group of military personnel who are preparing a coup d'etat to overthrow the constitutional order in the country. General Biag reveals they make up a group called Revolutionary Armed Forces of the People, who are mobilizing soldiers by buying their conscience with banknotes to join them. He added during a ceremony to celebrate the 47th anniversary of the creation of the military police that the perpetrators were denounced by the soldiers who received money. Since its independence, Guinea-Bissau has experienced 4 coups, with the last being in 2012. In Tunisia, President Kais Saied has accused unnamed politicians of using refuge overseas to plot against the state, implicitly targeting one of his predecessors based in France. He urges the new justice minister to open an inquiry. President Saied on July 25th sacked the government, froze parliament and seized powers, moving later to rule by presidential decree. Mazouki, former Tunisian president, says democratic France should not be on the side of the dictatorial regime, urging it to reject any support for this regime and the man who has plotted against the revolution and abolished the constitution. But President says supporters say his moves were needed after years of deadlock among political parties seen as corrupt and self-serving. In South Africa, former President Jacob Zuma has spoken to his supporters for the very first time since being released on parole early September. He was released on medical grounds after serving 2 months of a 15-month prison sentence for contempt of court. Speaking via a video link, Jacob Zuma lambasted the course and criticized the graft investigations against him.
Coming up next, Talking Point. Our guest today, Mohamed Lamin, is an award-winning Pan-African advocate of the year 2018. He was named as one of 100 most influential young people's leaders in Africa in 2019, and in 2020 he was recognized as one of the most influential people of African descent, 100 under 40 worldwide, in support of the United Nations International Decade for People of African Descent, and with a background in leadership, campaign for social change, policy advocacy, movement building, and non-violence activism. He is the coordinator of Africans Rising for Justice, Peace, and Dignity. Mohamed Lamin, thank you for joining us today.
Thank you for having me.
All right, for the past 3 days, you brought together over 100 Africans, including activists, leaders, youth movement leaders, and engaged citizens from across the continent and the diaspora in one of the largest online Pan-African gathering, and you engaged them in discussions on enhancing solidarity, that's building the African continent, the Africa that we want. But before talking about that, your organization is fighting for justice, peace, and dignity, and these are some of the ingredients of human life that are being trampled upon in crisis-stricken parts of the African continent. Cameroon is one of those countries hit by security crisis in the northwest and southwest regions, but also in the far north with the Boko Haram issue, and in the northwest region in particular, one of the most recent and shocking incidents recorded there, notably in Boya in the southwest region, is the killing of a school pupil by a soldier of the National Armed Forces. What's your reaction to this?
Yeah, thank you for having me. I want to say Africans Rising condemned in the strongest terms the killing of the student by the, I would say, the brutal killing of the student by the military at the gas post. So I think Africans Rising in itself, as a Pan-African movement of people fighting for justice for all, have also taken Twitter and social media platforms to condemn that killing. Actually, yesterday I was following the protest online, and we are in solidarity with the family, we are in solidarity with the movement, we are in solidarity with Cameroonians who have been killed every day. We actually have been supporting the struggle for bringing back peace in the north-west region, north-southwest region of Cameroon for the past years.
In time, what will you suggest should be done by the government, by the separatists, by all Cameroonians from the northwest, southwest regions in particular, to put an end to such atrocities?
I think the government needs to take responsibility by holding the perpetrators accountable with immediate effect. They should show a responsible and exemplary leadership by holding the perpetrators accountable. They need to face justice. I think Cameroonians really need peace now. And then nobody can come from anywhere to bring peace to Cameroonians, but it's Cameroonians themselves that need to bring peace. The government, the separatists, the citizens need to really come together and negotiate to put an end to this violence and the killings. It's enough, it's enough. We really need to see peace in Cameroon. Women and youths have been struggling, and especially women have been fighting so hard for peace to come. And it's time for people to take responsibility and bring peace to the doorstep of all Cameroonians, especially those in the northwest, southwest regions.
All right. Earlier I said you brought together at least 1,000 Africans from across the continent and the diaspora to discuss on how to enhance efforts to build the Africa that we want today. And the Africa that we want today is the Africa that we are seeing today is certainly not the Africa that we want, because of the many problems affecting the continent, and out of the continent, Africans who are also out of the continent. Some of those problems include injustice, security, and political crisis that have brought a heavy negative consequences on the dignity of human life. What were you discussing with the participants as far as these problems are concerned?
Thank you. The purpose of Africans Rising being created is for the civil society, the citizens of Africa, to be responsive to our own issues. When Africans are in crisis, we need to be responsive. So in 2016, a group of African civil society people met in Arusha, Tanzania, from 272 organizations from 44 countries met in Arusha and created what we call Africans Rising for Justice, Peace and Dignity, that we want African people, movement and organizations to rise together for justice, peace and dignity. So 4 years down the line, 5 years down the line, the movement felt that we need to bring our members together, we need to bring African citizens together to have a conversation around how far we have been building that solidarity, that effort of unifying our efforts and also responding to the needs of Africans and bringing back the Africa we want. Again, the process of meeting gave an opportunity for us to really discuss the need for solidarity across Africa, for Africans to really work together and champion the cause of peace, cause of justice, cause of dignity. We also discussed, issues around, women's participation in movement building, women's participation in leadership. We also discussed issues around climate and environmental justice. We also discussed the issues around space, the need for expansion of space, political space, civic space that African people have been calling for. Everybody has to have the right to be able to express themselves and then be able to hold governments accountable to deliver on the promise that they've made. So it has been an engaging and interactive and educative 3-day session that all 1,000 plus members, citizens have really taken the journey with us.
And you were talking about enhancing solidarity that's building the Africa that we want. How to enhance this solidarity in a context where individualism is seemingly taking the upper hand? My country, my this, my that, and so on. The countries not coming together in the Pan-African vision of Kwame Nkrumah to be able to build the Africa that we want today.
Yeah, that's the reality that we are faced with. That's why one have to start, to continue the fight for the true liberation. In fact, the movement actually came to being to continue fighting for the true liberation of our, that the forefathers have laid the foundation. We have achieved what we call political liberation. But I think the whole ball was dropped in a sense that when the leaders, Paul Nkrumah and others, met in Addis, they could not agree on unifying Africa at that point. And that's what we are dealing with. And then a group must come together, Africans must come together to deliver that change. So the need to champion and talk to Africans, to conscientize them, to understand that individualism will not give us any possibility of peace. Individualism will not give us any possibility of justice. Individualism will not give us any possibility of dignity. So we must be able to come together as African people. When one is in crisis, the rest of Africans have to be in solidarity with them, have to be responsive to supporting them and creating the numbers of voices so that the leadership will listen. So the solution to Africa's challenges and problems is unity. We need to really deliver that unified voice and unified power so that the continent can be able to speak and transform their own agenda. And that's what Africans are actually pushing.
All what you're saying will be difficult to be achieved without economic and financial empowerment and independence to reduce dependence on the West. Now, what is Africans rising for justice, peace and dignity doing about this? Are you collaborating with organizations like United Africa for Economic Empowerment?
Yeah, you are very right. Actually, the liberation fighters have left us with the unfinished battle that we have to finish. And then Africa cannot achieve anything without having economic liberation. And that's why it's critical. That's why Africans Rising in itself, with all its funding, with all its thinking and sustainability, we think about Africa, that Africans really need to really focus and deliver the Africa we want, but by ensuring that we fighting and collaborating around economic liberation. So we're working with very many groups, millions of groups that are working around economic liberation, and that's what we believe that's the solution to the reality of what Africa needs.
Mohamed Lamin, coordinator of Africans Rising for Justice, Peace and Dignity. Thank you for your time.
Thank you for having me.
And that's it for this edition of the 6 p.m. primetime newscast on Equinoxe Television. Coming up next, live from Cameroon's political capital, La Presse, it's a dispute, and after that, Equinoxe. Stay with us.